Hey, it's Colleen.
Hi, it's Kate.
And it's Megan.
And we're the
Three Scheme Queens. Join us as we discuss popular hoaxes and give you our comedic take on what is fact and what is fiction. If you have a sense of humor and an open mind, come take this journey with us.
We'll tell you what we think, and we'll try to prove it to you.
Is this thing on?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, hi. How y'all doing?
The Three Scheme Queens are back together.
1, 2, 3.
And this is not the first episode that we've released in 2025, but this is the first one we've recorded in 2025.
Yeah, because we pretty much haven't been together since the beginning of December, over a month. So we went to book club the other day. It was like a ping pong ball, right?
The conversation. We couldn't finish one thought of like a story without entering another thought and then a completely different story, but then we would like circle back.
Well, much like the podcast, Colleen had a lot of questions. And then at one point, someone said something and Colleen said, okay, I'll just sit here and write all of my questions.
Yeah, I opened my notes app too. I was like, I'll just write it down.
And then Heather said, I wish I could record you guys right now. And I was like, that's pretty much our podcast.
They're organically chaotic.
Well, yeah, exactly. This isn't like something that we put on for the podcast.
It's just us.
It's just a conversation that we actually are having. Megan does her best to edit down.
I do. I try to keep you guys on track.
She contains us.
Yeah. So anyway,
guys, just a reminder, don't forget to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages at 3 Scheme Queens. That's the number 3 Scheme Queens, all one word. We're also on Reddit, same username. If you want to check out our website, go to 3schemequeens.com and you can find links to our social media accounts, our Buzzsprout page, all of our episodes, additional content, our contact page, and our discussion board where you can engage with us and share any updates on the topics that we have discussed. Let us know how we're doing and what you want to hear next. There are also opportunities to financially support us. There are links to buy us a cup of coffee, links to our recently updated merch store, and affiliate links. And as always, if you choose not to financially support us, we appreciate the follows, the downloads, listens, the likes. Kate, what should the people do?
Yeah, they should scroll on down, leave us a 5-star review, share us with their friends and family. And also, if, you like this podcast, after you're done, take your phone out and share it with 3 people that you think would like this podcast, like right after you listen to it. That's what you should do.
So is it time for our
Drink check.
So tonight, we're hanging out. The fireplace is roaring because, a blizzard has happened.
We got 5 inches.
I think we got a total of 10 here. We're close to the mountains anyway.
Well, not quite a foot. We didn't get quite a foot of snow over a couple days.
Ian is being elitist, northeastern Massachusetts.
Let's talk about how long the children were out of school for.
Okay, don't get
one day of snowing. These kids were out for a whole week. They had half a day this week.
Yes, and we're like, so did you go back to school and like tell your friends about, your Christmas gifts? And they were like, no, that was so long ago. Colleen came over and wanted to sled, and
they didn't want to go outside because they were tired of sledding.
Yeah, we're over the snow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, what if I build you a jump?
And they did end up pouring hot boiling water on it, by the way.
Did it ice?
It did ice, and they were both so excited about it. So we were like, I was thinking, I went to the store today, and I was like, what are we going to drink? Colleen was talking about these New England
Shirley Temple. Regular Shirley Temples, though.
Well, in every other part of the country, there's 7-Up used.
It's so wild.
Or Sprite.
Ginger ale.
But you know what? Today
we're having it my way.
New England Shirley Temple that Colleen has also nicknamed the hippie girl Shirley Temple because I used all hippie ingredients.
Yeah, there's no fake dyes. It's all real.
What did you use to make this, Kate?
I used Olipop ginger ale and these fancy cherries. I don't know the name of them.
She goes, I don't think I have any grenadine. I'd have to text Bourbon Boy. And I said, well, I know Bourbon Boy's got some fancy cherries.
We took his face.
Yeah,
fancy cherries.
because he uses them to make his old fashions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're good.
They are. They're the fancy cherries because they're expensive.
I
Yeah.
would say, like, yeah, Colleen kind of nailed it. It's kind of like an upper class hippie.
Yeah, like I
Shirley
feel
Temple.
like
It doesn't give me the like childhood vibes
No, it
of a
doesn't.
Shirley Temple,
No.
but it's pretty delicious.
it's
It is
the
good.
grown up hippie girl Shirley Temple.
Yeah, we'll call it hippie shit. Shirley Temple. Anyway, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you guys just go out and try it. I'll get the name and post it on the Instagram of the cherries.
You know who's probably not drinking this right now is Luigi Mangione in
Oh,
prison.
yeah.
Yeah, probably
He's
not.
probably drinking Shasta.
No, we know what he's having.
Definitely drinking Shasta. You know, also
You just have to stand outside his jail and ask,
Yeah.
and they'll
Or
tell you what he's having.
Arsla.
Pizza beans.
Yeah.
Definitely not drinking expensive bourbon cherries. You know,
No,
No, definitely not. No.
no.
maybe making some whippets with his commissary because I heard his commissary is.
Well, he's rich.
Yeah, well, people are donating to his commissary, and he's sharing it, with his prison buddies who
Good for him.
In favor.
are his jail buddies because he's not in prison. His jail buddies, who gave him a full makeover. They sent the head of the barber shop. That's why his eyebrows are well plucked now.
Oh,
The head of
allegedly.
the barber shop gave him a haircut, did a fade on the brows, and gave him a facial. And that's why he looks hotter now than he did.
full disclosure, I don't find him attractive at all.
I think that there are pictures of him where I'm like, okay. And then there's other pictures of him where I'm like,
No.
it's all about the.
I think he's a little too skinny for me. A little too short.
But I would say if you just look at his second
His bone structure.
mug shot, not the first one, his second one after he's been primped by the jail barbershop,
Okay.
I think he looks pretty good there. But I am disgusted by the people who are obsessed with him and calling him a national hero.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Or like the daddy.
Yeah.
Reels about him. I'm like, our bar is low.
Yeah.
Very low.
Mhm.
I don't think he's a shadow daddy. I think he's like a cold-blooded sociopath. But
What does shadow daddy even mean?
you guys are
Reading.
not book
It's
talk?
like I'm on book talk, but like
Yeah,
not.
So it's
I'm
like-
not on.
so it's
Morally gray.
like a morally gray book boyfriend.
right.
Okay.
It's like
I'm
a
not on
shadow daddy.
your side of book talk. I feel like
What book talk are you on?
I can't.
Anyway,
Okay. So that being said, Kate, what are we talking about today?
so we're talking about Luigi
Luigi.
Mangione and the United Healthcare CEO. Did he really kill him, guys?
Mhm.
Do we think he killed him? On December 4th, 2024, the week after Thanksgiving and well into the bustling holiday season, Brian Thompson, United Healthcare's CEO, was gunned down right outside of a hotel in Midtown Manhattan, where he was on his way to a shareholder meeting. In the chilling street camera video, you see the shooter loitering as Thompson approaches the hotel before the suspect shoots the CEO in the back, fires a couple more, and then turns around and walks away. In the days that follow, there's a massive manhunt in NYC. NYPD sweeps the city, even taking to the river for the shooter and killer of Brian Thompson. Meanwhile, news channels and social media accounts shared the grainy picture of a similarly dressed man checking into a hostel days prior, a white male with a dark hood up over his head and a mask over his face. He's shown leaning over the counter, his black mask pulled down, smiling at someone across the counter that is not pictured. Then, on Monday, December 9th, a phone call came in from a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, approximately 223 miles away from the crime scene. The caller claiming that someone matching the suspect's description was there. The police, responding to the call, arrested 26-year-old Luigi Mangione. Found on him during the arrest was the gun, the silencer, and a 3-page note detailing his plan to kill Mr. Thompson. But something about Luigi's thick eyebrows seems out of place and doesn't match with the surveillance video that has many people pausing over this seemingly too clean murder investigation. Outcries on Reddit are claiming that Luigi is a patsy, very much like our beloved Lee Harvery Oswald. Justice for Lee.
Justice for Lee.
Because how does one just get caught in a McDonald's with a murder weapon and a manifesto in his book bag just 5 days later? Is Luigi just too arrogant to believe he would be caught? Or is he being set up? Let's get into it.
I just would like to point out that he's already verified on Twitter. How can you be verified without access to your own account?
What do you guys think?
I'm gonna refrain from sharing my opinion because I did a lot of research. But what about you guys? Without really,
I think he's mentally ill. And
Colleen, you're so annoying.
what? I think he's
Mentally
having
ill.
a manic breakdown. Like a psychotic. He's going.
Hey, what, just based on him screaming as he got taken away?
No, I think he has chronic pain. He endured years of pain, and I think he's at the timeline of common psychotic breakdowns. Like he's at that age group where psychotic breakdowns happen. And like when you have chronic pain, that also can disrupt, I don't know, your normal flow. So I feel like he's having a psychotic breakdown.
Okay.
So you think he did it, but it was like driven by his psychotic
Yeah,
breakdown?
it's also odd to me how much of a show they're making him into be. Like with the perp walk and everything. Like it's like that's what you're wasting your money on.
I disagree because the media outlets are choosing to show him because social media is so into him. So he's making money for them. It's all about money.
Well,
Follow
why did the
money.
mayor have to personally walk him when he didn't walk any other criminal that week?
Because, again, all the people on social media are into this.
Well,
It's
just
like a
because it's on
high-profile
social media,
case.
why did they have to walk him?
Well, or you could argue if he truly did it, they want to make a show of like, we're not going to tolerate this.
Yeah.
I think they're also all enjoying their 15 minutes. So I've also done a lot of research on this, and I'm going to see if with Kate can talk me one way or the other, because I really am 50-50. Like I have a really hard time. Again, the photos, we talked about the Redditors who are like, if the brows don't fit, you must acquit.
Right.
Like I think the photos kind of look a little iffy, but also kind of what you nailed in your intro, that like everyone's like, this guy is like a brilliant assassin. But then 5 days later, he's just chilling in McDonald's eating a hash brown.
Yeah, that's
a manifesto and a murder
he's
weapon.
not all there.
I don't.
Like he's not all there.
Or did he not do it and somebody just set him up to like, be the Patsy and tie this with a lovely bow on it and be the end of it. So I really am 50-50. I don't have a firm. So we'll see what you convince me of.
Okay. So let's first talk about who Luigi Mangione is. So he's a 26-year-old from Maryland. Guys, he's not far from us. He grew up in Baltimore, or like not Baltimore, but like in a suburb of Baltimore. He went to an all-boys private school named Gilman School in Baltimore. He was valedictorian. And then one of his classmates actually said, like, he didn't really have any enemies and he was valedictorian for a reason. And he was, like, bestowed on the student with the highest academic achievements. And then he went to an Ivy League college. He went to UPenn. So when he went to UPenn, he earned a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science, which means he's like super smart, right? And according to the school, he founded a video game development club. Yeah, interesting, right? He was employed as a data engineer at TrueCar, but after like everyone had been investigating him, the company came out and said he actually had not worked at the company since 2023. But he basically was doing like work for their social media profiles. And he was like pretty much just described as this like nice guy who had a lot of friends, who had this really promising future, and everybody seems to be very confused about all of this. Like people who know him personally. After he graduated, he went to live in a surf community in Hawaii for a little while. And ultimately he had to leave because he, like Colleen said, he had chronic back pain, and was not really able to surf. So
He had like an invasive spine surgery. Oh,
But yeah, no, when he was in Hawaii, he was living in this like, was it really a surf? It's called surf something, right? But was it a surf community?
it was a surf community. Yeah.
Because I heard he went surfing one time and then he was like stuck in bed for weeks after. But they would go rock climbing together.
Right. It was like hiking, surfing. It was like all this like outdoor.
So I was
Kind of sounds culty.
Yeah, I was like, you're right. Well, again,
when did he hurt the
we'll
back?
get to my theory about that.
Right.
So the back was a chronic issue he'd had from high school, but he left the surf community to travel back to the East Coast to get his surgery, right?
Right. And then, he's also been like shown what Colleen's saying on social media. He posted
The X-ray of his back.
an image of like his spinal column with the screws in his lower back. He also had a Goodreads account, which I don't know if you guys know this, but I also have a Goodreads account.
Mhm.
And I like
he's
Fable
active on
better. I like Fable better than Goodreads.
He has so many books on it too.
Yeah, he would like leave
Yeah, and the books are. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, they're a little weird, right?
yeah, yes.
So on his Goodreads account, he gave 4 stars to a book called Industrial Society and Its Future by Ted Kaczynski, also known as
The Unabomber.
the Unabomber. It's also known as the Unabomber Manifesto.
Yeah.
So, like, this details Kaczynski carrying out a bomb campaign that killed 3 people and injured dozens of others. And then ultimately he was arrested in 1996. But in his review,
Yeah, hit us with it.
Luigi said that Ted Kaczynski was a violent individual, but also described him as a political revolutionary. Now, does that sound like someone who is
Sounds like somebody is having a psychotic breakdown.
no,
and is
no,
trying to be what that
Now,
person
so
was.
actually,
no? I disagree. I think he's a sociopath.
so I'm going to say I have thoughts about the surf community that I think we're going to get to when we talk about our theories too. But did you see that he actually ran a book club at this community?
No.
And one of the books they read in the book club was the Unabomber's Manifesto.
Oh,
And so it's unclear whether that was his choice or if it was the R.J. Martin who's been making the rounds, who I
Right,
talked
right.
about. But anyway, they read this as a book club at this surf community, which we were talking about sounds a little bit culty.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds culty. This is your book club choice?
yeah, very culty.
His Goodreads shelves were not at all
Not
like ours.
no,
Okay.
not at all.
Mm-mm.
Mine's mostly just fantasy.
Mine's a lot of like chick lit and got some nonfiction in there, but nothing
nonfiction.
culty like this.
You like historical fiction too, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a historical fiction girl. I'm sorry, Colleen, that I'm just coming at you really hard about the mental health.
Hmm.
I just disagree. I feel like he fits the profile of a sociopath.
Also,
Like
I mean, if
everybody
is
loves
also
him.
mentally ill.
also to be
No,
clear,
no.
necessarily.
Sociopaths are not mentally ill.
Sociopathy is not a guilty by reason of insanity,
Right.
whatever. But I would also argue, back to your point about the chronic pain, that he actually, after he had the surgery, he was all over Reddit telling people that he felt great. His pain after he had the surgery in 2023, right? Do you agree, or did you say something else?
No.
His pain was cured. So the man, he had spondylothiasis, so he had one of his vertebrae.
Because the picture shows his X-ray shows a lot of hardware.
It's like 4.
It's probably
Yeah.
like
It's
four, probably
It's
three,
like 4
probably.
screws or 3 screws.
Yeah, I would
like
think
this.
it would be a screw above
I'll
in the
bring it
vertebrae
up.
above,
I'll
vertebrae
bring it
below.
up right now.
But regardless, he claims that his pain was treated by this surgery. So it's not like he was in 10 out of 10 unbearable pain, which is kind of what you were implying. All that.
I guess I'm feeling a little defensive because I feel like mental illness is just like always the
Excuse for everything.
now. And
I mean,
like,
I'm not
you
saying
can't
it's an
just
excuse, but he is the age.
well, I feel
have
like
a
it's actually a little late. It like manifests more in
younger than
when
me.
they're 18 to 21.
I think
Schizophrenia,
it's-
that's what
yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Manifests between 18 and 21 in males. Mostly.
I agree. We actually had this discussion before, though. Didn't we just have a discussion about this? Yeah, I was like, I usually think about it like 18, young 20s. He's 26. It feels kind of
Yeah.
the higher end for me. But what I would say is also kind of a mystery. Like, you've implied it. You're like, we know at some point he was living in California and he had that car
It was like the
job,
Bay Area True Car.
which they said that he hasn't worked there since 2023, right?
Right.
We know he was in Hawaii. It sounds like he was in Hawaii. He was in California. He got it at some point after his back surgery. He went back to Hawaii. But like, no one can really track. He was in Asia for a while traveling, right? But like, no one can really track where he was.
Right.
And it sounds like he had just gone like completely off the grid from his friends and family. So actually, his mother reported him missing November 18th, 2024, and said she had not heard from him since July. And his friends all said, yeah, we hadn't heard from him either. And if you go into his like Twitter, people are posting like, dude, we haven't heard from you since July. Where are you at? What's going on? It's been months. We haven't heard from you. It's like, that's also
really
weird.
weird.
What was he doing for 6 months?
Planning this. He had to have been. Sorry. I guess you know where I stand. I just think he's a sociopath. I think he fits the profile of a sociopath so perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
How do you just kill someone and walk away? Sociopath.
What?
Arrogant?
Well, here's what I want to know. He's seen on CCTV when we get to this on the phone talking to someone. Who's he talking to on the phone if he's not spoken to anybody in 6 months?
Right. There's probably like, he had to have been working with someone, right?
RJ, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. You're talking about the surfer guy.
Yeah, I don't know. The guy, it's just, he's been all over the press, but there's just like something about him. And then you can't really find much on him. So there's like just something about
it.
him.
It is very weird.
Yeah.
It is very weird. I digress. But yeah, his mom, when he got arrested, his mom didn't seem like, she hadn't heard from him for 6 months, like you had just said. And she was like, I guess, sort of wasn't surprised. So people are like, so that she thinks that this could be within the realm of like,
yeah, I did say that.
Yeah.
She was like, I can't say for sure. I think after they had the photos and they were going around trying to identify this person, she said, I can't say if that's my son or not, but yeah, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Like he could do something.
Right,
like this.
right, exactly.
You're right. That is fishy. That's probably one of the main things in the like he did it column.
Right. So anyway, he's currently being held without bail in New York, where he faces charges of first-degree murder, 2 counts of a second-degree murder, and 1 count of terrorism related to killing of a United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson.
Why terrorism?
I'll tell you why.
Because it's a targeted attack.
I did make a note on this. Do you know?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I actually read about this, that the reason that he has the terrorism charge is because under New York law, you can charge anybody with terrorism if they, quote, intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, influence the policies of a unit of government by intimidation or coercion, and affect the conduct of a unit of government by murder, assassination, and kidnapping. So if his purpose in shooting Brian Thompson
was like coerce the government regarding insurance.
And to changing their healthcare. Yeah. Changing our whole healthcare system, or like, bullying people into being like capitalistic.
But also, you wouldn't say that like targeting United Healthcare CEO and gunning him down in the street wasn't an act of terrorism? Like, what makes you think that that's not an act of terrorism?
Well, like, then why isn't every murder charge a terrorist charge?
Because he was trying to make a statement.
Because if you murder your husband because you're mad at him because he cheated on you,
well,
that's not what, trying to impact policy and change.
Like, that's what they're going to try to argue in the trial, that he was targeting this one man, right? Like, because when I think terrorism, I think a group, a population, and like all he did was shoot one guy.
No, because
by shooting one guy, they're saying he's targeting the population of insurance companies.
I don't know about that, because I would argue that even the guy who, I mean, this is a whole other conspiracy we get into, right? But even the guy who blew up the Tesla in front of Trump Tower and had 0 people harmed, that's still an act of terrorism. Because you were trying to do some sort of symbolic, murder of...
I guess in my mind, it's like, how many people was he trying to hurt in shooting this one?
Oh, no, I think you could have a terrorist attack.
Like that's what I'm trying to understand.
Person. So you're saying that in your mind, I was thinking a group of people who would act this, but you're saying a group of people targeted.
Yes.
No, I think you could easily... if you kill the president, that's an act of terrorism, right?
Yeah.
That's one man.
What's the actual definition of terrorism?
And I think like terrorism is to invoke fear, right? Like he's not at all personally connected to Brian Thompson, the CEO. Like I don't think he's had any discussion with him.
Right.
It was a targeted attack towards a population of individuals. Even if it's just him, it was to make a statement that he thinks that insurance companies should not be doing what they're doing in America. And I'm not
even sure, honestly, there's all this stuff about being insured. If we believe he did it, I'm not even sure he was targeting necessarily the healthcare industry as much as capitalism, and United Healthcare happens to be, it's number 4 in the Fortune 500 companies. It's just like a huge company. So
yeah, he's been a very outspoken on like social media about like, previous to this, obviously, about like being anti-capitalist. Yeah.
But I think that's more so his, because he never even had United Healthcare, right? There were people who went on like his Reddit before it all got pulled down, and it's a lot of like anti-capitalism. It's not really a lot of like, and then actually people were like, he was on like this message board for chronic back pain, and he was on a message board for like brain fog. He had brain fog, but it was like he was really offering support to other people. He wasn't really on these like rants,
right?
So yeah, I think probably more so capitalism. Colleen, to answer your question, terrorism is the use of violence against non-combatants to achieve political or ideologic aims. So
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Let me get back to it. Okay. So those are the charges that he's being like charged with in the state of New York. He's also being accused of federal stalking and murder offenses that could lead to a death penalty sentence. So he's going to be tried in the state and then he's going to have a federal trial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not good for him.
No, it's not.
Although, you know, federal prisons are apparently the way to go.
Which prison is he in now?
It's so interesting. Yeah, first of all, he's not in prison because he's not been tried yet, so he's in jail.
Differences.
And
You know how we
I don't
know
think
this?
people know the
Shout out Jillian.
Yeah.
I think that you're not a true crimer.
Okay, but are our listeners true climbers?
Well,
Like,
no,
what's the difference between jail and prison, Megan?
So jail is where you go before prison. Okay. I also, if you watch a lot of these shows like 60 Days In or these other jail shows, and where it's just like you got like people who are there for a week, people who are there for a month. You got people who are like coming in drunk and they got to sleep it off. All that's all jail. Once you go to trial and you're found guilty, you can get sent, if it's a big enough charge, you get sent to prison. And
Are
then,
there levels of severity in jail?
well, yeah, I'm sure you've got, yeah,
Like
because
for security?
so he's in the Brooklyn jail, and you know who his jailmate is?
Oh, yeah. Diddy.
Diddy. And so apparently,
Wait, Diddy is his jailmate?
No, they're
not
in,
like
they're in the same
they're in the
jail.
same jail.
Oh,
I believe they're actually on different units, but they're saying Diddy is getting jealous of all the attention that.
Because that's all Diddy wants is
Mhm.
attention.
Mhm.
Yeah. And didn't you guys see the there was all this outrage on social media about like how Luigi Mangione is like being treated unfairly in the jail and whatever, and they did this they did this interview, this woman, and because they were like with all the jailmates, but they weren't allowed to go in the jail, so the jailmates are yelling.
Yeah, like about you can see them.
Yeah, that's how we
all
found
these
out
people are
he
saying
had pizza beans for dinner.
Yeah.
yeah, and they just scream out answers to the press.
Right.
I mean, I think he is being treated unfairly, but in a positive way. Is that what they're implying? I mean, I think it sounds like he's
Right.
like a hero amongst the inmates.
Right.
And they're bending over records, and he's sharing his commissary, and
Right.
yeah.
Anyway. Okay, he's also being charged in Pennsylvania with multiple offenses, including forgery, carrying an unlicensed firearm, and also providing a false ID. Mangione was arrested 5 days after the murder. Oh, we already know this. Yeah. But he was found with guns, bullets, fake IDs, and cash. It's kind of like, where were you using those guys? Or my guy?
And the matching gun to the shooting?
You know, they say it is.
Do we know anything for sure then? What weapon?
They're saying that he uses 9mm. The government, the police,
The police, the prosecutors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone is saying
The
that.
prosecution.
They're claiming, yeah, I guess you're right, who's they? But I'm like, when the police arrested him, they said this gun matches, because remember there were the spent casings that said deny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deny, defend,
and
depose.
Yeah. And so they were like, oh, these came from this gun.
So anyway, again, let's circling back to the document, the 3-page letter that he had written, or
His manifesto,
his manifesto. Yeah. Apparently it had a line stating, quote, "These parasites had it coming," end quote.
I actually found the manifesto.
You did? Tell me about it.
Well, let me see. Only one person published it. So is it ethical for me to read it? Probably not. Like, I think people made a choice not to give this
Information out.
more light, like more attention to his
yeah.
manifesto. But what he says is, yes, to the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial. And then he included with his manifesto a spiral notebook that we'll talk, has some interesting stuff in it. But it says, the spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. is the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is the indecipherable largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, and Walmart. It has grown and grown, but as of our life expectancy, no. The reality is, these indecipherable have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. I won't read the rest of it, but yeah. He also commented, in the spiral that was also with him. He said that he initially was going to use a bomb, but he wanted to avoid endangering innocent people. So how thoughtful.
He was very thoughtful of you.
Yeah.
So not for
I thought about a bomb, but then
yeah. The Unabomber, manifesto was to, I feel like that was a little bit of an inspo for him, but who am I? Who am I?
Can I just give you a few thoughts about the victim here?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Let me tell you about the victim, because whenever these girls do an episode, they post to the share drive so I have their sources so we can source it, source the episodes.
Yeah.
And so she was like, yep, it's in the Google Drive, check it out. So that's why I said, okay, I appreciate I put the sources up and I saw your notes. But do you have anything about the victim? And what'd you say?
I said no, because I don't think I was like, what is there to know about the victim? He's boring.
She was like, I don't know if people care about the victim, but I was like, this is also sort of I know we're talking conspiracy, but as someone who absorbs a ton of true crime content, I feel like we shouldn't forget who the victims are.
But also Megan just, again, I told her today, I was like, you just have this like thirst, unquenchable thirst to like know more things. So like Megan just loves loves going down a rabbit hole. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's true crime, if it's a conspiracy, I mean, anything, like if it's, Bravo characters,
that's sad. Yeah.
But it's true.
But I did feel like we should look into who was Brian Thompson, because I am disgusted by the hero worship that Luigi is getting.
Same.
The GoFundMe. And so let's not forget that there's like a real person that he killed. So Brian Thompson was the CEO from April 2021 to his death. As we kind of got to, United was the largest health insurer in the U.S. with 49 million customers, generating $281 billion in revenue in 2023. And he'd actually increased the profits by 25% under his leadership. And I think we talked about like in Big Pharma too, where I'm like, I want the nurses and the doctors to be making money. I could go on a whole rant.
I could definitely go on a whole rant.
But I think healthcare providers are underpaid for what they put up with, for how much work it takes to do what they do, and for the legal ramifications of them messing up.
I also think healthcare providers don't like insurance companies almost just as much as like the public.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
Because we're constantly fighting with them too.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like we get the backlash for like the insurance company is not doing.
By the way, guys, when insurance denies your care, we're on the phone doing peer-to-peer reviews trying to sell to them why they should cover it. So like, yeah, we all want what's best for our patients, and we are not pocketing money from all this. But
exactly.
Anyway, so the deal was Brian Thompson, morning of his death, he was entering the Hilton to attend the annual investors meeting. And that's when he was shot, which, we'll kind of talk about. Brian Thompson was taken to the hospital. He was pronounced dead. And investigation into the crime scene revealed the spent casings that we talked about that had the words "delay, denied, depose" engraved in them, which is linked to the delay, denied, defund, which is used to describe insurance companies' efforts to avoid payouts. So anyway, Brian Thompson, he was married. He had 2 sons.
Mm-hmm.
He had been separated from his physical therapist wife for years, at least as far as 2018. In 2018, he'd purchased a second home less than a mile from the family home in Maple Grove, Minnesota, and they had resided separately since then. And so now she and her children have been getting bomb threats.
What?
So she had to hire security, to come to the house and protect them. So again, these people who are celebrating his death, like, this is disgusting. He was a father. He was a husband. These children and his wife, his wife, they were still married. Like, why are they getting threatened now?
Yeah, I disagree with like the hero worship that he is.
He had been working at United Healthcare since 2004. But here's where it got actually. So again, I wanted to look into it because like, this is a human being, but he did have some legal issues.
Ooh.
Also, I wanted to look in this because I thought, as a true crime person, Kate, who's usually the first suspect, most likely suspect?
Spouse and or partner.
Right. So who's to say his wife didn't take out a hit on him? I don't know. But I was like, what's the situation with his wife? So interesting. Sounds like they were still cordial in that, they were still legally married. Shared custody of the sons, lived separately.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe that's just how they worked. Maybe they still loved each other, just needed to be separate from each other.
Maybe. Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe that was like, you know what? We still want to be married, but and we still enjoy each other. But you know what? I just don't want to live with you forever.
I just like my space.
Right.
Yeah.
Weird. To be clear, I don't think that's normal.
Yeah.
That's definitely weird.
Mhm.
But
So anyway, he did have some legal trouble. He had exercised stock options and sold shares worth $15.1 million on February 16th, less than 2 weeks before it was announced that the DOJ was investigating if the company had violated antitrust laws. So after this announcement was made that they were under investigation, stock prices plummeted. So Thompson's stock options reportedly had several years until expiration. He had never sold any shares prior to this event, and he was one of several executives who had sold off a combined $101.5 million in shares. So DOJ was investigating them for insider trading, and that is important because,
he Martha Stewart them.
well, and there's a whole Nancy Pelosi
Oh,
theory.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it all comes back to insider trading. So yeah, he was sort of in some legal trouble at the time of his death. Brian Thompson, he was a dad. He was a husband.
Right.
He was doing some not so great things.
R.I.P.
But he was also one man, you know?
I guess I'm confused that you would not, Colleen, that you would not find this as an act of terrorism when he like took out the kingpin.
I just think I didn't have a good understanding of what a charge for death. Because when I think terrorism, I think Boston bomb, 9/11.
Yeah.
Like, those are my examples. I don't think like a
Mass terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
fair.
was my only question on it. But, I mean, I don't think murder is good. Like, if he actually is proven to have been the actual murderer, then he is a murderer and should be tried as such. But I also think people don't understand how awful insurance companies are. So it's like I understand why he was so emotionally upset about insurance and how that functions in America, but I don't think that justifies killing an innocent man.
Right.
And 90% of what's on Twitter, I feel like, are jokes, but people don't understand that you're joking about an actual dead person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I do think
Well, it's
people
not all
take-
jokes because people have donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to
Yeah,
him.
the memes is what I'm talking about. Like, I feel like a lot of people look at the memes and think, like, oh my God, how can you think that? I'm like, it's a meme. But then it's like, how can you be making a joke out of this?
Yeah. I mean, I just think that, what did they say about millennials? Like the things we've lived through. Like if we don't have the humor, we're not like,
Well, we talked about this.
yeah, like, oh,
Gallows
like
humor.
yeah. We've like lived through 9/11 and 2 recessions and the housing crisis and the pandemic. Like there's like all these things like huge events that we've lived through. So if we didn't like have humor, we would just be crying. Yeah. Anyway, so what I find really interesting is that even though he was caught with all this stuff, he's pleading not guilty.
Well,
He's a
what
Patsy.
exactly did he have on hand that matches the scene?
Let me tell you, apparently in November 24th, Mangione ended up on a Greyhound bus somewhere between Atlanta and New York City. They're not sure where he boarded. He was like paying all cash, right? But he gets off in New York City. He takes a cab to the Hilton Hotel from the Port Authority bus terminal. He hangs around for about 30 minutes. He calls another taxi that takes him to the Upper West Side, where he checks into a hostel. And that's where the famous photo is. Apparently the hostel worker was like, let me see your smile. And that's because she was flirting with him. And that's when he pulled down his face mask. And that's the picture we have.
That is the picture that everybody is like,
And that's the picture that we don't know 100% is Luigi.
No,
that's
that
him.
picture is.
But I don't know how we know that person is the person
shooter.
who shot him. But they apparently tracked all the CCTV to and that's how the investigation went. So anyway, or like they tracked it backwards.
Right.
But in answer to your question, he checked into this hostel using a fake ID for a man named Mark Rosario, and he paid in cash. You know, we can talk about there's kind of some questionable thought, but this timeline that they have that they've tracked him, you know, then apparently on the morning of the murder, he goes to Starbucks, he buys a shot of espresso, a bottle of water at a Kind bar. We have a photo of him there at the Starbucks. And then they matched his fingerprints to like his trash from the Starbucks at the Starbucks. But I would argue, how do we know that is the same person who was
The shooter.
at the Hilton? But regardless, the reason I tell you this in answer to your question is that when he was captured 5 days later, he had the fake ID for Mark Rosario, which is the ID he used to check in at the hostel. He had the 9mm, the 3D printed gun with the silencer on it.
There was no weapon at the crime scene.
Oh,
So they can't like match any
the bullets
weapon.
would work for that gun.
This 9mm.
There's definitely gaps.
He had
I
the
think-
manifesto on him. That was the evidence also. He has, like, which you would argue is like a handwritten confession, right? So that's the evidence that he had on him when he was arrested. But there was also this weird thing, like when the shooter allegedly fled the scene, he got an e-bike and cut through the park.
Is it all witnesses?
CCTV. They tracked CCTV, which is why I kind of theorized
There was not a single witness?
who's to say there was one witness to the shooting. We haven't heard from her. She was like you can see her in the video in the Hilton. But I would like to know, when they tracked the CCTV that tracked him back to the hostel, did they have like continuous, or like even to the Starbucks?
Right.
Did they have continuous eyes on him to the Starbucks? Because who's to say
Like somebody switched out.
Yeah.
maybe he didn't even, maybe
It
RJ,
can't-
but
yeah,
or,
yeah.
no.
I hear what you're saying.
It's like, do we have enough proof to prove without a doubt?
I mean, I don't think that's why I'm 50
Yeah.
because I don't know
that's
that we
why
do.
it's like,
But apparently when he fled, he left his backpack with full of Monopoly money, and there was something on his coat, Monopoly money in his coat in the park, and they found that. And I'm like, why would
some people are claiming it's supposed to be meaningful, right? That it
the
was
Monopoly money probably meant something?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm like, you took time to lose your coat. Why didn't you like throw your gun in the river? That you were telling us, I didn't even know this, that they were like scuba diving in the river.
Yeah, they were scuba diving in the river.
Yeah. Oh,
They were doing a full on investigation, like scouring New York City.
So anyway, that was a long roundabout way to answer your question about what was on him that they're calling evidence, but it was the ID, the weapon, and the manifesto.
Right.
So,
And I guess we won't know every piece of evidence until the trial starts.
And even still, like there's going to be redacted,
mhm.
right? Like
Everything's always redacted.
I think it's interesting that he's pleading not guilty because, in my opinion, there's this mountain of evidence.
Okay, you give us your mountain, and I'll tell you what I think goes
I
against
just
it.
gave you all the
Oh,
mountain.
that was the mountain of evidence. That's all the evidence.
I mean, he had the firearm. The pictures are very close.
Mhm.
I know you said the eyebrows. I think it could be like it's a very grainy picture.
Well, and then it also felt like in some of the pictures, they'd be like, this is, and maybe it's just technology, but like he had like white straps in his backpack in one picture, but then like black straps in the other, but they're like, this is the same backpack. So either like the
There's
color on your
inconsistency.
CCTV is so off,
I mean,
or it's not the same.
right. Well,
But I mean, it could be either. I can't believe,
yeah.
again, let's go back to this. The CCTV are never working.
Right.
Are we
Yeah.
to assume that they were working
That's
the
what
entire
felt
stretch?
crazy to me. Like,
I'm sure there wasn't CCTV working
The entire
stretch, but
Yeah.
they were probably able to like, again, piece together where they found him.
Yeah, but then in that actual video we have where he walks out and the guy walks out with the hood, we never see his face,
No.
and he just shoots the gun. And I saw, actually, I can't fact check this. Did I see something on Instagram that he was, Mangione is left-handed,
yeah,
and the guy who shot
is right.
is right-handed?
Yeah. I saw that too, but I can't
I can't fact check
provide
that.
whatever.
Yeah,
I
proof on
just
that.
know I've seen that too.
Is he ambidextrous?
Maybe. I mean, he's a genius.
Yeah. That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't know.
This man, I just
I
I
am
feel in my
not.
bones this guy is a sociopath.
I'm not invalidating like
Mhm.
the CEO's death, right? Like
Mhm.
somebody has to go down for it.
Mhm.
But I just think we should be confident in who is going down for it,
Okay, so
which he deserves a fair trial.
Oh,
And
so
so
this
them
is
presenting him-
and I
Okay.
do want to talk about
Yeah.
that because the defense is saying
Is he gonna get a fair jury?
that is what his defense is saying is the biggest.
Yeah.
He's like,
I don't.
They
think
don't.
he's gonna have a fair trial.
So they're saying that. Okay, he pled not guilty in New York. By the way,
Mhm.
has not pled. He has not entered any plea for like the other charges that I talked about in Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania, federal,
and federal. Yeah. And then his lawyer. Her name is Karen Friedman.
I'm sorry.
Ag-
I thought he had a guy
No, he has the wife of Diddy's lawyer.
Yep. Karen Friedman Agnifilo. That's the name of his lawyer
in New York.
in New York. I was just going to say that so her defense is that so what she's saying is that the state charges and the federal charges are basically in conflict with one another because the state charges are kind of like what you're saying, Colleen. Like
Mm.
it's like you're charging him with terrorism to coerce the civilian population. However, the federal charges are more focusing on a crime against just a single individual.
Yeah, how come he wouldn't be
So
federally
like
charged
she's
for
saying,
terrorism?
she's saying they're in conflict with one another,
Mhm.
which
I mean, you could also argue, is he going to get a fair trial? I mean, is he going to get a fair trial after that entire parade? That whole
That's
purple.
what, yeah,
you know?
like,
right.
Yeah.
So she also says she's very concerned about the client's right to a fair trial, but one could argue that Donald Trump, who was just tried in New York City, probably was not tried by a fair
true.
jury. So like it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Different
So
patterns.
when people are just that high profile, everyone like, how do you find a jury that hasn't heard anything about this case and hasn't already developed an opinion? You know what I mean? So yeah, so she's basically saying like he's being treated like, she says, quote, human ping pong ball that's warring between two jurisdictions, unquote. And then she's also saying that like, he's being used for political gain and just to call attention to things, being a spectacle. But how much you say he's being paraded, but how much of that is the defense playing into it? Because the whole thing,
Well, I mean,
the
could
perp
argue
walk was a parade.
the perp walk was a parade, but
How was a
I would
parade?
also argue though that he's all over social media being hailed a hero. So either way,
Yeah.
it's like it's going to be hard to find a jury that doesn't have either of those people. That doesn't have someone
They're
who's
just
like
going to try to find people
this
all
man
between
is-
18 to 24 on the jury is what they're going to try to do.
well,
I don't think they can do that.
No, but like,
because the defense and the prosecution they have to.
no, I know. I was, yeah.
Okay.
So the
I
judge
had
of
jury
this,
duty, Megan.
sorry,
The
The
defense
expert.
is going to try to get young
Yeah.
people on the jury. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But I'm saying they're going to argue that like
It's going to be hard to have a fair on both ends.
yeah, they're going to argue like the perp walk makes it unfair, but the prosecution could argue that like
Him
the
being a
social
god.
the fact
Yeah.
that you just said he's verified on Twitter and is tweeting.
No, he's not tweeting, but he is verified.
Oh.
That's why I thought you had to apply to be verified.
you can also just buy it
Yeah,
now. You can just buy the blue check.
yeah, that loses its value.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Karen Huger did that.
I mean, I feel like he just bought the blue check. Anyway, the judge who is trying this trial, his name is Gregory Caro, and he basically said what we just said. He can't control what's being said about the trial on the outside. He can't control what's being said on social media. But he did respond to his lawyer and was like, I will make sure that he gets a fair trial. So I think they're going to try.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like, try.
Yeah.
Like lots of
It's
work.
going to be so prolonged.
It's going to be, I mean, OJ Simpson, like
Yeah.
he was a high profile trial. Like,
Hopefully they don't. I mean, I hope for our sakes they do, but hopefully they don't let cameras into the courtroom. Like,
Right.
we really want a fair trial.
right.
Yeah, they should lock it
shouldn't
down.
They shouldn't
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so let's talk about the social media praise. There's a lot of people on social media. He's gained a lot of followers that are basically validating what he did.
Yeah, they're like, he's an American hero.
And he's become a hero. He's become this infamous, person who will go down in history and changing like the course of.
Do we really think him shooting Brian Thompson is going to change?
Well, I mean,
What do you guys think of? So, like, after the CEO died, insurance trying to like validate like the timing of anesthesia.
Blue
and
Cross Blue Shield.
That was before.
No, that was shortly after he died.
Yeah.
And they withdrew it.
You mean?
They withdrew it.
They
Do you think
withdrew it,
they
yeah.
withdrew it because of fear?
Oh, I definitely think they're gonna.
Well, it wasn't United, right?
No, it was
Mm-mm.
Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yeah.
Because I would say, as somebody who deals with insurance, United is one of my two least favorite insurance companies to deal with.
Followed closely by.
I'm not
God,
gonna
no.
say that. You
I
guys
don't want to get hurt.
You guys know. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say it.
I know. Let's just say they have a large
West Coast.
Clientele.
yeah, large clientele on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Blue Cross Blue Shield was like what Colleen was saying. Blue Cross Blue Shield was trying to push a
time limit.
A fixed time on your anesthesia.
right, like, and if you went over a certain time in the operating room, they wouldn't pay for it,
Which is
absolutely insane.
Absurd. Can you imagine your surgeons being like, oop, I nicked an artery, but we don't have time to fix that, so we'll just let you
Right.
eat it. Like, it doesn't make any sense that you could, you can do the best you can, but that you can control all the time how long. You don't know, you get in for surgery and you find something that wasn't expected, but like, we can't take care of that because your anesthesia is going to run out.
Right, and everyone's anatomy is a little bit different.
Sounds
Like,
appalling.
like everything could be routine, and just because it's routine doesn't mean that or like, lung surgery. You could have cancer, and or have had a history of cancer or something like that, where you've had radiation and you have friable tissue, and it's like you can't close well. Like, this is what we're facing right now with hospital systems. Is like the hospital system is being run by people who don't practice medicine, who don't understand what healthcare providers
or
do.
what we do day to day. Or
Right.
yes. And so they come in and they say these things and it's like, I can't believe you just said that out loud. You sound
dumb.
Like
Right.
you have zero comprehension, but you're making $10 million a year
So I'd like to
cut staffing for the,
right.
for the hospital.
Right. And so that's like, this is how the insurance companies are working too, is like, what's the bottom line?
Mhm.
And like, it comes down a lot to like, you are making money off of people's illnesses. Like,
Mhm.
where are your morals? And you're denying these, like, the healthcare cost is absolutely insane. I don't know how you fix healthcare at this point. There's a lot of like, oh, we should change the way our system, pays for things. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other argument. What I do know is like, healthcare in itself
Is broken.
is broken. Right.
Mm.
I think everyone understands that the system is broken.
Mhm.
So while I think that what he has done to this human being should not be glorified. And I frankly find it disgusting that people are saying, like, they're thirsting over him.
Mhm.
They're like, talking about him like he's this great hero.
He's getting fan mail.
People want to be what is it called when you can have a visitor in jail?
I'm gonna go visit.
Yeah, I'm just going to visit. Yeah. I just feel like it's not something that we should glorify.
Agreed.
I like, while I do not agree with what the insurance companies do,
Mhm.
this is not something we should glorify.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I just want to go through some of the bullets that I have as far as things that are making me, and again, I'm not committed one way or the other, but just things that have me like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on this timeline, which again mostly comes from the CCTV, so like I saw his picture here and then we saw him here, and that's how they like made this map of
Right.
what he did. So based on that map, so at 5:34 a.m. he left the hostel, and then so he's seen last at 5:35, and then the next sighting is at 5:41, 50 blocks away. So in 6 minutes, can you travel 50 blocks? Well, I looked into it.
What?
Okay, so apparently he was on an e-bike. And so e-bikes, the average e-bike speed is 50 to 20 miles per hour. So if he was traveling at a constant speed of 50 miles an hour, he could have theoretically traveled between these two sightings at 10 minutes. Online, I found other people saying it would have taken closer to 20 minutes. But
This is a real math
nearly
question.
impossible. Yes, if you leave this train station
Yeah.
at
My
5:35.
God.
But if you leave the hostel at 5:35, yeah, like is it
It's
possible
possible.
to meet at your next spot at 5:41? And I don't see how that's possible.
Oh,
So
that is a big hole.
there's that.
Hmm.
I already told you my theory that I think perhaps he was bopping around, and that's where we see like on Starbucks. I think he was, for somebody who apparently didn't take his mask off for the whole week he was in New York City leading up to this. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's just like bopping around Starbucks, and he's pulling his mask down at the hospital to flirt, and he's like making eye contact with the taxi. Like it just feels a little
Sociopath. They're charming.
Okay, why he had 5 days? Why did he only make it as far as Pennsylvania? What? Like
I have a lot of questions about Pennsylvania.
about why he's in Pennsylvania?
Why is he there? What's he doing?
Is there
He didn't
more
want to like
United-
flee to Canada or something?
Is
Right.
United where's United's headquarters?
Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And they'd actually just had some a bunch of protests like April and May of this year.
Oh yeah, there's
And he apparently Brian Thompson had been getting death threats, but his wife was like, it's like not uncommon. He's always kind of gotten some death threats.
Well, they also like didn't it come out that like they had just cut budget for executive protection for him. Bourbon Boy told me that.
Okay, this whole thing about why he picked, which again, I guess now I would argue, like, just when it first came out, they were like, it was United Healthcare because he has chronic back pain. But I don't think if we believe he's the suspect, again, I think it was more of a capitalism argument than like
I think it's two birds, one stone.
yeah.
Because well, I just going back to why would he have picked United Healthcare? So he never had, not even just at this time, he never ever in the history had United Healthcare. We know that for a fact. So why he would pick United Healthcare as like his, I mean, I think it's more because it's the number 4 business in the country and it serves the largest amount of people.
And also,
And then allegedly his grandmother, but we couldn't find proof of that.
I don't see anything about this. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Also, I think it's a two-bird again. Is capitalism an insurance company? That's why you picked United Healthcare.
Okay. I also have some questions about his story. So the whole story, right, is that guy again that I tried to look into, RJ.
Who's the surf
So he
Surf
owns this like
community?
shared living space where people just like come and live together, and it sounds a little culty.
It's very culty.
So he came out and he said that they were buddies. You know, they went surfing one time and he was bedridden afterwards and they never did it again, but they would go rock climbing. He's the one who said, you know, he was never able to have sex because his back pain was so bad. Okay. But then this guy,
He's also like never had a girlfriend.
well, not that we know. Like
Nothing proven.
they said
Yeah.
someone came out and was like, well, I matched them on like Tinder, but no one has ever actually come forward to like have even gone on a date with this guy. So yeah, I'm like, incel, you know, that would kind of go along with your sociopathy.
Or is he gay?
Definitely sociopathy.
Yeah.
There's also
I know
a lot of people are thinking he's gay.
Yeah. So
But
regardless
also,
of-
there's like, but even still, Colleen, there's no record.
No
of
one has ever
dating
anybody.
him ever.
Yeah.
Not
But-
just girls.
But I was going to take this back to like he's had.
closeted, but
What?
Well, just hold that. We're digressing because
Okay.
I'm not trying to dig into what his sexual preference is. My point I'm trying to make is like he had this pain that was so debilitating. He couldn't surf. He couldn't have sex. But we're to believe he posts all these thirst traps with his 8-pack of muscles. Right? He's like he looks like this big buff dude. And I'm just like something's not. The math's not mathing for me on that. And then he's like, and he posted all over Reddit about like healthy living. But he gets busted eating McDonald's.
Right.
Kate. Okay, Kate's a pretty healthy girl over here, right? She's into intuitive eating and listening to your body. And like, I don't think we would ever catch you at a McDonald's,
No.
except when you have to go to the bathroom.
I love a bathroom trip to McDonald's.
But you would never be like, let me just go eat some hash browns at McDonald's.
No.
Right? That was bizarre. No one has come forward to say they talked to him after July. Most people talk about, they have evidence they like texted him, they post on social media. We know his mom filed a missing persons report.
Right.
But again, on the CCTV that's tracking him
He's
to
talking to
allegedly the site, he's on the phone with someone. So who's he on the phone with? Someone else
I'm sure it's
who's involved?
what I find fishy is that the manifesto says, I'm going to save you the trouble. I
Oh.
was working by myself.
Yeah.
To me, that means it's like these companies, it's like we did go to the moon, you know, like the
Mhm.
government releasing, like we
Yeah.
did go to the moon.
Yeah.
Like if you
He
kind-
preemptively
like,
released his
and also,
rebuttal.
like how many people were carrying that? Like I kind of feel like he did it,
But there were other people involved.
there's other people involved, and how many people were actually carrying the book bag
Mhm.
with with all the same weapon in it?
You think there's more than one backpack with the same weapon?
You said we were told there was a backpack left,
Oh, yeah.
and then he's found with the backpack.
Yeah, but I don't think I tried to look into that. What was the backpack that was left actually Peak Design. So the backpack that was famous from all the CCTV,
Right.
it sounds like is the backpack that was left with the money, the Monopoly
The
money.
Monopoly money.
And then actually this guy got speaking of inappropriate celebration and death threats, the CEO of Peak Design. So Peak Design is like a high-end backpack company.
Right.
That's who made the backpack. He came forward when they first showed out these like CCTV photos, and he called the police and was like, my company manufactures that backpack. I think maybe like could we trace
Right.
the backpack to somehow identify this guy. And that CEO got so much flack from everyone's like, you are a narc. You didn't.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do remember reading about
And he
this.
said that he was getting like bomb threats. He had to get security. So anyway, that's really unfortunate. But I tried to go back and be like, okay, the backpack he was wearing
Again.
at McDonald's.
Why don't we want this killer brought to justice?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Like who's next? Lawyers? Who's
Right.
like, I just feel like you could. Someone could have an issue with
Anyone.
Anyway, so I couldn't fact check if the backpack that he was wearing at McDonald's, I could not I never could find a picture of that or the brand because I was trying to be like, are they trying to tell us that this was the same backpack, but there was a backpack found? Like
Right.
it was all,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
very
very weird.
clear on that. And then it's just interesting too that this guy has zero criminal history. Apparently, when he was living in Hawaii, he was trespassing because he was like, it sounds like he was like maybe on like a pier after dark or something. It was like something ridiculous and he got like a citation for it.
Oh.
But like for trespassing. But no, it just feels like quite a
jump.
From like, yes, I'm this law-abiding citizen to like, I'm going to stalk and murder this man.
Which goes to Colleen's. She thinks he's mentally ill.
He just flipped.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There are pictures of him with girls out now.
Yes, but these girls, but yeah, he's got.
But nobody's saying like who their names are.
He's got girlfriend. He has friends who are
No,
girls.
like,
there's like an
he's
A-
like
there's-
making out with a girl in this picture. Like
Oh,
he
how do you
was-
know that's not AI.
because it's a Polaroid. It's a picture of a Polaroid.
Still could be AI.
Well, then all of your like
Right. That's what's so scary about AI.
Well, AI is terrifying, but
Okay. So let's get into the conspiracies now, guys.
Okay.
Number one. What do you think the number one conspiracy is?
he's a patsy.
No. It's the eyebrow theory.
Oh, okay. Let's hear about.
It is.
There's a theory. Okay,
Yeah, the eyebrow theory basically states what you said. If the
Oh.
eyebrows don't fit,
you must acquit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one of the earliest conspiracies that come out. It's all over Reddit. It's the most like referenced when people are like, he
Oh, so
didn't
people are
do
just like,
it.
not him because the eyebrows don't match.
Right.
Okay.
That is the eyebrow theory. That there's two pictures. If you look at the picture, the hostel looks like Mangione's, Starbucks does not. It's because the eyebrows do not match.
Mm.
But the taxi one looks like him.
this is the taxi one.
But also I think it's interesting that he's wearing a light blue mask there and then he's wearing dark masks everywhere.
He was wearing the light blue mask at the McDonald's.
I
too.
mean, like, and there, those coats. Are you're telling me that's the same coat?
It looks like this one could be green and the other one could be black, but it also could be black.
It could just be bad.
Yeah. So
And then, like, I'm sorry, scroll back up, and he's got. Okay, look, and he's got like white,
right.
like.
But he's not wearing a backpack here.
Oh, that's why I can't see it. Okay.
But I think this is
this is the
reflective
McDonald's
here.
one.
Yeah, I mean, he looks the worst of all in McDonald's.
Right.
He's got like. Yeah.
It looks like he has a whole different nose at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. That's another thing is like people are saying the eyebrows, the like nose
Like the
ratio
facial
doesn't like
features.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't match up, which could go to the theory that like Megan's talking about is there was like a team, multiple, and like
Like if they were just like, or I'm picturing, and like if somebody did this, maybe a hitman that the wife took out, maybe again, and I'm just throwing out these things that have no proof. These are not allegations, right? But maybe the guy from Hawaii, or maybe a hitman the wife hired, or something. What if they have him? He's doing the crime, and all Mangione's doing is bopping around to Starbucks, getting in a
Distracting
taxi,
people.
just like
yeah.
walking around town.
yeah, but like then how would he well it was
And
better-
and maybe he knew, or maybe he didn't know. You know,
maybe.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So anyway, this is like so that picture is what the man at the Altoona McDonald's said, like made them think like, oh my gosh, this is the guy. The Starbucks picture is like, you know, the mask with the hood. He's like, this is the guy. And he goes and calls the police. And that's what people are saying, but the eyebrows don't match. There's nothing other than to that theory. Reddit, there's been people on Reddit that have like gone back and forth. Like, I'm an esthetician. This is why this is him. And then another one would go back and say, but I'm also an esthetician and this is why this is
And your
not
unibrow can't grow in 3 days.
exactly.
Mhm.
Like the people are now bringing in their expert,
Mm-hmm.
you know, opinion.
Kind of like us.
Yeah, exactly. So the eyebrow theory. Okay. That's the first one.
Okay.
There's the 286 theory. This is the one
This is from his Twitter ex. Yeah.
This is vaguely familiar. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so in his profile on X, on Twitter, so it features the Pokemon Breloom, which is the... You want to know which Pokemon that is?
Which one? I do. I'm dying to know which
The
Pokemon.
286 Pokemon. Okay.
That's a lot of Pokemon characters. How long has Pokemon been around?
A
A
while.
long time.
Yeah.
A long time. He's posted exactly 286 times on X. And 286 is also the code for health insurance companies use when, quote, when the appeal time limits for a healthcare claim are not met, end quote.
So if a patient files an appeal
So outside the window.
outside the window,
You can't
like they've waited too long to file an
Yeah.
appeal, that's a 286.
Yep.
Okay.
They also pointed out there's another, like, people on TikTok have pointed out that there's a Bible verse, Proverbs 28:6, stating, better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who was walking in his crooked ways.
Hmm.
Which I'm like, that's a stretch, my guy.
Yeah.
That's a big stretch. Okay. Also, this man was not poor, right?
No, he was rich.
No, yeah,
Or
he was
is.
his grandparents were
Like country-
Sicilian immigrants who had nothing and became millionaires.
Right. They like opened up a country club.
Multiple country clubs,
Yep.
multiple nursing homes,
Right.
which is interesting.
Interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a trust fund baby because the insurance companies are in your pocket, my guy.
Mm-hmm. But he also apparently, and his school was like $40,000 a year, his high school. But
right.
also interesting, and now this I didn't fact check. This was floating around on social media. But like his grandma did you guys see this? Like the grandmother had a will.
Oh, yeah. He's not.
Where all 10 grandkids would get $10 million.
He doesn't get any of it now.
There was like unless
A clause.
there was a clause you couldn't commit a felony. This is like the rumor out there. I'll fact check
wow.
while you're reading.
Interesting.
So that he would have been a millionaire himself if he, didn't.
If he just didn't listen to that intrusive thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Mm-hmm. Allegedly.
Okay. And then finally, people theorize that the McDonald's that he was at was exactly 286 miles away from.
That's
New York
why he
City.
didn't get further.
However, it's actually only 279 miles. So weird. Just weird coincidences, That's the 286 theory. I don't really know what he's trying to go with the 286.
I
But
believe that. I think all of that's a stretch.
I mean, it is kind of weird that
It is weird.
the third theory is the McDonald's / Monopoly theory.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like, he left the book bag with the Monopoly money.
As a sign to come to McDonald's because they always play Monopoly.
Yeah.
Also,
That's exactly what it is.
I guess you could also argue, like, I'm like, I don't understand why McDonald's, but I guess, yes, if it's all part of his, like, rant against corporate America, then maybe it would make sense that he would go to McDonald's.
Right. Because, like, and also Altoona is the home of the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Yeah, but also, how often was he in this Altoona McDonald's? Like, this is probably the first time, right? Has anyone come forward and been like he was I don't know. It just seems like a stretch to be like, he left the money to be a signal to go to McDonald's, and then he went in for a hash brown, and someone happened to recognize him and happened to call 911 and happened to do something about it. Like,
Well, just interestingly enough, McDonald's used to play the Monopoly game, right? Like,
Mhm.
that was like, I remember going to McDonald's.
Oh, I
and-
remember
and
that.
like peeling it.
mhm.
Just hoping that you would win something. I think I always hoped to like go to Disney World. My parents were like, "Are we gonna win the money?" But apparently there's like this massive fraud scandal with it, and that's why they stopped doing it.
Oh, I think I did sort of hear this.
Right. That like Jerry Colombo, who was like a part of it, and he was part of this Colombo crime family, and it's been halted. Anyway.
I thought it was like rigged so that people couldn't win or something.
Right, and it wasn't like nobody would actually win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
which I guess kind of like plays into like his capital.
We're giving him a lot of credit to have all of this forethought.
If you're a sociopath and you disappear,
I guess he
listen,
had
I'm
6
just saying-
months with nothing to do.
exactly.
But think.
Just go down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the notebook that had his manifesto in had like pages and pages and pages on his exercise routine. So he has obsessive traits.
Yeah, obsessive compulsive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like pages
But he couldn't.
of bulking and
But he physically was unable to lay there, and I just feel like I
I
just
don't
can't get like he was unable to have sex because the back pain is so bad, and I'm like,
what was that
But, like,
before or after
but
he
he-
got fit?
he could just like starfish, you know,
It definitely could.
and like, but like it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, yeah, you have so much pain, you can't even have sex, but yeah, you have a whole fitness. Okay, anyway,
Regime.
keep going.
And then there's the Patsy theory. I'm a Patsy.
That's the one I lean toward. Okay.
Okay, so some people are just like theorizing on X that Mangione is a Patsy or a CIA plant.
Well, yeah, because you saw how they dressed him exactly the same as Lee Harvey
Mhm.
Oswald. You mentioned that in the intro.
Yeah, that was really kind of weird, right?
It was weird.
But like, did they dress him or did he do it?
Well, then it was weird too because like his lawyer was dressed similarly as well, and I was like,
right.
was this a coordinated outfit?
It's definitely, I just feel like it was all done on purpose. But like the lawyer is the one who usually sets that all up, right?
Yeah, they have to like bring in clothes
Yeah,
for
so
you.
she's definitely looking at the theories and she's playing in.
Mhm.
And then people are like, he's such a high profile, like
Mhm.
all over social media.
It was the same outfit.
It was so
Yeah,
similar.
it was like a
Like
white.
the maroon sweaters that we're talking.
right.
Yeah,
The
Um,
maroon sweater he's wearing sold out like within minutes too.
yeah. It goes back to this like yeah. I can't believe that we're all like worshiping this man. That yeah, it was from Nordstrom, right? And it sold
Yeah.
out.
Okay, and then this is where the claim that the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi
Oh, yep, got info on that. Yep.
is somehow involved because her brother, who's the mayor of Baltimore, or he was the former mayor of Baltimore, once mentioned Mangione's grandfather as a well-known businessman and in an interview in the Baltimore Sun. And so like they're all tied.
Well, let
which
me
is the insider trading that you were talking about.
exactly.
Go on.
I did because again, I have sort of been this like this all just feels way too tidy, but like what would be the motivation for somebody to frame him, for someone to make him a patsy for whatever, right? And I couldn't figure it out. So I reached out to our Redditors
Yeah.
and I asked, and I got some wild responses. And I got some that I was like, wait a minute. Okay. So first of all, a lot of people were talking about this Pelosi connection. Okay. And the claim is that people maybe have seen on social media that the CEO, Brian Thompson, was apparently set to testify against Pelosi in court because whatever you think about Pelosi, you can't tell me. I mean, there's an entire app to follow her husband's trading. So you can trade like Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Right.
You cannot tell me that you cannot be that rich as a public servant. Okay. I think for sure she's up to things, but there is no open investigation from the DOJ into Nancy Pelosi.
Of course there isn't.
But because
would there be?
there have always sort of been these rumors swirling about her insider trading. And then we know that there was this whole, that because Brian Thompson was being investigated for insider trading, that perhaps he was going to like flip on Pelosi. I don't buy that. There's a database. The Securities and Exchange Commission has a database of people being charged with insider trading. And there's, over the last 30 years, there's no record of Nancy Pelosi being charged. So the fact that they would have been using Brian Thompson to testify against her when she hasn't even been charged is kind of ridiculous.
Right.
The other connections, there's like two other connections. So you mentioned Nicholas Mangione. He was Luigi's grandfather. He was like a Sicilian immigrant who had nothing, and he moved to Baltimore, where her brother, Nancy Pelosi's brother, was a former mayor. In 1995, as he said, Nick Mangione is foremost identified as a family man. That's his calling card, even before he became a successful businessman. He's maybe a little rough around the edges and maybe with an aggressive personality, but a man with a big heart. He earned his success the hard way. So people were like, oh my God, there's a connection, Pelosi's and Mangione. But we don't know. We have no proof that Nancy Pelosi had ever met Nicholas Mangione.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then there's one more thing that I think maybe fed into this rumor, where there is a CEO named Brian Thompson. He's a CEO of a power company. So this is a different Brian Thompson.
Okay.
He's recorded making a speech, and he talks about how closely he works with Nancy Pelosi. And so people were like, oh my gosh, Brian Thompson has been quoted as like he was working closely with Nancy Pelosi, but wrong Brian Thompson.
Wrong Brian Thompson.
So I think maybe that also caused this link.
Sus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like not a lot of interest. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And then the last theory is that it's all just like a psyop.
Mm-hmm.
So basically which a psyop is like it's called psychologic operation.
Mm-hmm. It's like MK Ultra.
Right. It's like typically used to just like, look at people and kind of like a social experiment type thing. So basically people are saying that, again, Luigi Mangione is being framed. Why is he being framed? This is the question that you were asking, because they wanted to see how the public would like react to it.
Oh,
Like,
it's a psyop against the public.
right. And like so they think that he like how are they going to react, because they want to see like what is the target audience's beliefs, which like if that is the theory and if that is really what happened, then like the social media has proven what the audience feels. So anyway, they think that it's basically like, the deep state, the Illuminati, somebody like, the Freemasons, they did it. That's what the PSYOP is claiming.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I got some people on Reddit who were like thinking there was an MK Ultra situation. Cool First wrote, I think Luigi was given by his family to the CIA to be MK Ultra 2 months prior. I don't think he was the one to shoot Thompson, but he was the one that was supposed to take the fall. Why? My guess is they're attempting to normalize vigilante killings, and because of his looks and charisma, he makes a good front man. But yeah, I don't know if I buy that theory.
I don't really know if I buy that theory.
He hasn't really had a lot of charisma.
Yeah, I don't think he does have a lot of charisma.
No.
He just stands there quietly.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, except when
for that initial.
Except when he shouted, "It's completely out of touch. It's an insult to the intelligence of the American people."
And then he was shoved down.
Shoved. You know what that sounds to me like? Sounds to me like Lee Harvery Oswald's
I'm a Patsy. I'm a Patsy. Yeah.
Or it could just sound like Colleen said, someone who's having a mentee be and is like,
having
Could be everything.
Of grandeur.
Yeah. So here are the ones.
Oh,
I know Kate's gonna cover COVID.
Finally, she's let us do it.
But here's another theory that I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
So the COVID report came out from the government less than 48 hours before this shooting.
Right.
Okay. Now, this report, if you guys, 500 pages, I'm going to be honest, I didn't read the 500 pages, but I did go to the White House website and get the summary sheet.
Yeah.
Pretty shocking, the revelations. I mean, some of them were like what we expected, right? They came out and they said COVID was made in a lab.
Yes.
And it was released from the lab, and everybody's COVID comes from the same strain
in Wuhan.
COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty bad, but there's more. Like, I didn't realize the waste, fraud, and abuse. Over 64 billion taxpayer dollars were lost to fraudsters and criminals for fraudulent relief claims, $191 billion in fraudulent unemployment claims. The report also talked about how all the things we did, like social distancing, mask mandates, and lockdowns, had no scientific basis.
Zero.
And now the health, especially the children, like their
speech delay,
their socialization,
yeah,
their intelligence, their learning, their ability to socialize, their ability to handle emotions, like all of this was detrimentally impacted by these mandates that are like there was zero evidence for this.
Right.
They talk about the Trump era travel restrictions being xenophobic. The Biden administration used unconstitutional methods to censor COVID content, which we know. Just this week, though, we got
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Confirming. Again, there was actually some pretty ugly ramifications listed. And so this was not good. Like, not one person. This came for everybody. And
did you hear that, Biden is preemptively
pardoning Fauci?
Yep.
Well, guys, I just watched the Thank You, Dr. Fauci documentary. Mm-hmm. And again, as someone who already believed a lot of this stuff, it's more conspiratorial than even I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fauci definitely is not, I think, the the hero that he was initially made out to be.
No.
And yes, the idea that he might just pardon him for anything so he can never be tried in the future is pretty messed up.
It very messed.
But my point is that this big publication gets released by the government, and it's like we talk about all the time, where you're like, we don't want people looking at this. It's like just
Right.
over there, just
Right,
over there,
right.
So is that what this was? Was like,
Oh.
don't look at this, look at that.
Well, I mean, that could be why Colleen keeps saying, why is this being so publicized? Like, that could be why it's being publicized.
It's like the government feeding
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah,
Right.
But then I would also argue that this probably took a bit of planning. Like again, we're talking about
Right.
we're talking about him
He went
being missing for
underground for
6 months.
6 months.
And so for them to be like, this thing is coming out this week and we need to hurry up and like plan a assassination to distract people, that's
Right.
That's kind of a leap.
Right.
And then the very last theory, Spiritual General 659 says, the man in the Starbucks photo and the shooter is RJ Martin, the roommate / founder of the co-living community in Hawaii. He has a PhD in American history. Luigi was initially radicalized by him when he was vulnerable, and he went along in New York City in similar clothing to distract. RJ framed him. Look at RJ, then look at the Starbucks photo with the black mask and thin eyebrows. RJ's done several MSM interviews and admitted to suggesting the Unabomber manifesto for their book club. He's behind this, which is interesting because some of the press I saw was saying that Mangione proposed the Unabomber for the book club. Anyway, I really couldn't. I am intrigued by this theory because the whole co-living situation in Hawaii felt
weird.
very bizarre.
It's very common for Hawaii, though.
I don't know, just this like again, that's like all these
You
people.
see all these influencers going to Hawaii, and they all live in communes.
Well, that's also not normal.
No, I know, but like that's a thing to do in Hawaii.
And then they're having a book club where they're talking about
Like I'm not
The
shocked about the
Unabomber's
community living in
manifesto?
Hawaii. That
no, but what
doesn't
was
surprise me.
is there more? I just feel like we don't know about this guy.
Yes,
We don't
okay,
know what
that's
else
you're
was
saying.
happening in this communal living situation, except that they had a really bizarre book club. And so I am intrigued by Spiritual General 659's thoughts,
Mhm.
except nothing could be fact checked. I didn't even know how he got to this PhD in American history. I know nothing about his beliefs, except that he is literally in every documentary talking about his friend Luigi. So he's definitely getting his like 15 minutes.
Claims to fame.
I did look up RJ.
Do we know how tall he is?
I don't think his skin
Like, are
tone
they the same
matches.
height?
I just don't think it.
I don't know. That's
I think his
Starbucks.
skin tone matches.
That's Starbucks. He does have more of a pointed, like a straight pointed nose, like he has over his thing, as opposed to
Yeah.
maybe you're on to
if they're
something.
the same height
sir.
and builds, maybe.
Well, how do we know? We don't know what
But
height
there's
they
not
were in all
enough-
these videos.
Well, like we know Luigi's height now.
Oh yeah, because everyone, what is he, 5'10"?
Yeah, well, and when you get arrested, all your
I know, but then everyone was like, "Oh, he's so dreamy," except he's only 5'10". That was like another meme that was happening on.
well,
I
it'll
don't
be
know.
interesting to see how the trial goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Will it even make it to trial, or is it going to be like another Diddy situation,
Or another.
Lee Harvey Oswald situation?
Or another
Epstein.
Epstein.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be an Epstein. I think the prisoners like him. You
Pri-
think Epstein killed himself?
No, I
No.
think Epstein was taken out.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
who
sure.
could have been
Like,
a
I was
prison
a-
guard? Could have been a prisoner who took.
We could do Epstein.
I mean, we got. I know we got a lot to do. That's what I'm saying. 2025 is truly the year of the conspiracy
Yeah.
theories.
Yeah.
There's so much. happening.
2025, the year of the conspiracy.
Like, what just happened that I was like, God, another thing.
The DB Cooper.
Oh, DB Cooper, but there's something else.
So that's about it. That's about it about Luigi Mangione, guys.
So you still are. You think he did it still?
I think he did it, but I think he was working with people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think
It is weird to
It's
think he did
weird.
it all by himself. Like he could not have done all of that planning. by
Right.
himself.
I mean, he does that. So, like, he has a history, or he has a degree, in a bachelor's and a master's degree.
And a minor in math that he got in 4 years.
Yeah,
It's obviously very
science.
yeah.
Like, could easily have hacked his way into like where the schedule is for this guy. Like,
Well, I
doing
think the
digital
schedule is-
stalking.
Everyone says it was readily accessible on the internet because it was like just the United Shareholders meeting.
which is scary.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
definitely
he had the means and the motive.
had the means and the motive, and he had the mind.
Yeah.
He's smart.
And he had the opportunity, I guess.
Right. But what I don't understand is, like, if you're that smart, my guy, why are you in a McDonald's 200 miles away from New York City
With the murder weapon
with the
and a
murder weapon?
manifesto.
Right. Like, that's what I don't understand. And I also don't understand why he's pleading not guilty unless they're going with an insanity.
Or he's Patsy.
Yeah.
I feel like if they were going to go with insanity, they'd be presenting him a little bit differently.
Well, I think she had kind of said, like, it's in some interview, his lawyer said that wasn't out of, maybe before she took over as his lawyer, there was some clip where she said perhaps it'll be a guilty by insanity plea. So I think that's where that's coming from. And what do you think, Colleen? Are you still mentee B?
I mean, I just think it's a possibility. Like, everything's a possibility. I don't know. I just find there's too many gaps to be able to declare 100% one way or the other. So it'll be interesting to see how it falls out.
Yeah, I still don't know. I hope we get, I don't want him to be worshipped. But I hope we get a live trial so we can like see what it is that the prosecution has. But yeah, I'm not, I feel like I really could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like we get answers to some of these questions and he did it.
Right.
But I also maybe lean more toward, like we said, if he did it, I don't, probably didn't do it alone. I don't know. It just seems like,
I know it's very clean and tidy.
yes, it's too clean and tidy.
It's too that's why I think he is working with someone and he's trying to cover that person up, and like, or maybe it's the whole surf community. You don't know. Very weird, very cultish.
I did see on the TMZ like documentary, so it's a great source. But there were people they interviewed who apparently he had traveled in Asia with, who said that he was like at the shooting range and stuff. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I don't know.
He also shot like so closely in range.
Yeah. Well, at first they were like, this is a professional hitman. And then later on they were like, oh no, he was about 2 feet closer than he should have been. And he didn't like check the pulse before he left. And
what if Mangione is the one who's taking the fall on purpose? Like, he's working with someone and taking the fall.
yeah, but why would he take the fall for it? Like, what do they have?
No, I bet he's easily moldable.
Yeah, like what if he's
his brain his frontal lobe is not fully formed.
right.
And if
He's 26 now.
What if that video is like, the guy was here all night, but like they purposefully had him move around the city.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
This like, oh, bop over to Starbucks, bop over here. Like, what if that was all just
meanwhile RJ's the one shooting?
Right.
Yeah, or maybe not. I don't want to. I just like threw that name out.
No, but
find out somebody.
Yeah, one guy is
else.
shooting him. Well,
while he's just a
Luigi's
distractor
running
who's
around.
like popping into the taxis and whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
But
interesting.
regardless, however it was done, I just don't think it was
more like this guy. I mean, he looks Italian. This guy looks like
she's pointing to Mangione in the hostel.
right.
But we're thinking the guy with the mask at Starbucks. That's the one that he's saying could be RJ, could be. And he does have a different nose there. And
I think he looks like Arab.
He has a thinner nose and he does have like thinner eyebrows.
Thinner eyebrows. It looks like a different like his eyelashes are different. I don't know. I'm going back and forth, guys. The eyebrow theory is the one that's throwing me off.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Well, also suspicious is I was seeing on social media, and I did fact check this on NBC and on the Daily Mail, that there was a man, he was like a food cart vendor who was at the scene. He said, there's like a food cart vendor who said he didn't hear the shots, but he did see this guy all night. So he's like, there was a man loitering all night in a car. And but then when they released the timeline, they said that he had only been present for like less than 10 minutes before, like, he shot Brian Thompson.
Right.
Which also the timeline was kind of weird because Brian Thompson was like leaving his hotel and he walked to the Hilton. And so for this guy to show up for his story to match with the Starbucks trip and all of that, he showed up like 5 minutes before Brian Thompson showed up.
Yeah.
And then he shot him. And I feel like that's poor planning for someone who's like so meticulous.
Right.
You could have missed him.
Right.
He could have come early to go get a coffee or something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I feel like I would have been out there longer. And regardless, they're claiming that this suspect was out there all night, which does not match up with the official story we're getting from the police.
I'll
So
be a witness in the case.
yeah. Anyway, can't wait to hear more about this. Hopefully we get more information.
Right. So what I want you guys to do right now is to take out your phone. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody that you think would also enjoy this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and text it to them, share it on your social media account, something like that. And yeah,
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you next Tuesday.
see you next Tuesday, guys.
Bye.